Hey, it's Jeff Zito, and thanks for checking out another episode of the Celebrity Jobber podcast, which you can go back and listen to all the episodes on celebrityjobber.com. YouTube channel is youtube.com/celebrityjobber. And of course, our Instagram, which is Celebrity Jobber Podcast. What happens when these celebrities hit it big time? You know, before they're a star, they're, regular Joes like you and I. What did they do before they became a celebrity? Their first job is what we try to find out with all of these guests. And today's guest, a legend in rock and roll. And I'm talking about the one and only Carlos Santana. I have not had a chance to ever speak with Carlos in my almost 30 years of doing this. So I am pretty excited to speak to Carlos. Don't know much about him, be quite honest with you. You don't know his background. Of course, I know the big hits, Oye Como Va, Black Magic Woman, and then the huge album that he had back in 1999 and 2000, Supernatural, when he had that collaborations with all of those different musicians, including Rob Thomas from Matchbox 20, that hit Smooth that was on that album. A humongous hit, and I think broke a lot of records. So he had like kind of a second wave of success back around 25 years ago. Get ready to find out more. Not a lot of people get a chance to talk to this guy because he's that big a deal. Carlos Santana is my guest today on Celebrity Jobber.
The Celebrity Jobber Podcast with Jeff Zito. If you like what you hear, please subscribe. What if these celebrities weren't famous? What would they have become? What was their first job? We're about to find out.
Hello.
Hey, man, how are you?
I'm grateful. How are you?
Grateful to be talking to you today. You know, have you ever seen that bit on Saturday Night Live when Chris Farley is talking to Paul McCartney?
No, I didn't see that.
Oh, okay. Well, that's how I feel right now talking to you. It's a pleasure. I've been in this business for 35 years, and I've never spoke with you before. So very grateful to have the time with you. So, Carlos, tell me, it's a bit, I mean, we have a lot of ground to make up because I've never talked to you before. I wanted to know what got you into playing guitar. What got you into music? Is your family musical? Your parents?
Yes, my father's a musician. His father was a musician. My son is a musician, and his son is going to be a musician. It's a way of life for us. It's not a profession.
Right. And when did you realize that it was a way of life for you? How old?
This is in the early 50s, probably like 59.
As a little kid, how did you know that this is what was going to happen in your life?
I just knew that I could do what this other person in front of me was doing.
Right.
You know, it wasn't a competition or anything, but I knew that I could do that. You know, you get a certain confidence and certain assurance that you were born to do this. You know, it's like a dolphin knows he's a dolphin, so he's not afraid of water. Right. You know.
When you were younger, Carlos, how were you in school? What did you study?
Probably girls.
So you were about as much into school as I was growing up.
Yeah, I didn't take any information of something that I knew I wasn't going to need.
Right.
I knew I was going to need how to articulate, how to communicate with the females, because musicians have to have a vocabulary, you know, like, for example, and I'm not trying to be cute or clever, I'm just telling you, musicians learn from women how to walk, how to articulate, when to be sassy, when to be gentle, when to be nice. So, you know, real musicians, male musicians, we study women a lot. Right. Because it's a language, their body language. My first job was washing dishes at TikTok.
Really? What's TikTok?
TikTok was a fast restaurant that sells hamburgers and coffee and donuts and stuff like that.
And where was that at, Carlos?
It was in San Francisco. I needed to help my mom and dad to bring money to help them, you know, because it was just my dad making money. And so there was like 7 of us, and my mom and my dad. And so I needed to make a living helping my dad.
Wow. And how old were you, Carlos?
16 16, 17,
Okay.
18.
And what was your dad doing? What kind of profession did your dad have at the time?
My dad was playing violin with his own band.
So, boy, music is in your bones, and you just knew. Do you remember when things changed for you? Like, it's rough being a musician. I mean, a lot of people, they talk about, the job that you had at TikTok washing dishes. A lot of musicians had that type of job when they were, in their 20s trying to make it. But do you remember the point in time where things changed for you all of a sudden? A big break, maybe? A song?
I remember clearly because the Grateful Dead pulled over at the place that I was working with 3 limousines to get some food, some hamburgers. And as soon as I saw them, I said, you know what? I can do that. I can be that. I'm going to quit washing dishes and peeling potatoes and serving hamburgers, and I'm going to do that. So I knew that I had to go against my mom's wishes because I had to leave my mom's house, and it was, because what I was going to do was I was going to live in the streets and gain personal knowledge to write my own songs. But as you know, most parents would say, wait a minute, you're going to play your own music and people are going to pay you?
Right.
What are you? You've been smoking too much marijuana. You lost your mind. And I was like, okay, so be it. I guess I lost my mind and I'm smoking too much marijuana, but I'm going to play my own music and people are going to pay to hear my music. And so I had to convince myself and my mom and everybody around me that I can make a living doing what I love to do. And I thank God for that. When you make a living doing what you love to do, it's really something.
Oh, man, my dad always said, if you can find a job that you love to go to every day, it's not work.
It's not a job, it's a gift.
And did Mom want you to go to college? California State University, I hear you were accepted to, but you didn't go. But did that break Mom's heart?
It wasn't the first time. I think I did that a lot of times, unfortunately for her.
Right.
But at the same time, I made up when I brought a bag full of money like Safeway.
Right.
And I give her enough money for her to get her own refrigerator, her own dishwasher, her own house. I did that about 6 times. And so I was able to make up for, because she was worrying that I was going to be lost, either with like the hippies, a lot of hippies got lost, with shooting heroin or doing cocaine but I wasn't going to get lost like that. I did smoke a lot of weed, but that's because I needed to understand why the music from the Doors and Jimi Hendrix and the Beatles, and I realized, they're smoking weed, and so is Bob Dylan. So, because one thing goes with the other, and so I just learned that marijuana opens in your brain a certain channels of imagination. Hippies call it tripping, you be tripping, What it really is, it gives you inner vision and outer courage to follow it.
And are you still burning today, Carlos?
Once in a while.
Yeah.
Not much.
What was
residue from?
Yeah, right. What was it when you said you brought home Mom a big bag of money? Can you remember the first time you brought home some money to the house? And what was the song that became big for you at the time when you were able to bring home Mom a big bag of money?
Well, because of the royalties, I got a check from the royalties, and I cashed it, and I had a big Safeway bag full of money, and I said to my mom, "Mom, go get your house. Here's some money. Go select a house." And she's, "What?" I said, "Go get the house." And so my sisters and my mom, they went and found a house for her, and there's no satisfaction bigger than giving your mom what you promised you were going to give her when you were a child.
No doubt about it. Is it still as much fun touring today, Carlos, than it was in the 70s, in the 60s? Are you having just as much fun out on the road playing your music now?
I'm having more fun because I'm with a better band, a better set of people and musicians, and we know what we're doing now, sort of. And it just feels a lot more seamless ease. It doesn't feel like we're carrying a big, heavy piano up the stairs anymore.
Right.
Somehow it just feels, it's not making me lazy, but it's making me a lot more traveling light.
June 14th at the Hard Rock in Hollywood and June 16th at Amalie Arena in Tampa. You can go to Santana.com and find out where Carlos Santana is going to be near you. What a privilege to speak to you today, sir. I really appreciate it, and thank you so much for taking the time today.
Thank you so much. Stay precious.
Amazing. The legendary Carlos Santana. Born in Mexico back in 1947, he learned to play the violin at 5 years old and then the guitar at age 8. And his father was a mariachi musician. His younger brother, Jorge, also became a professional guitarist. So the family moved to San Francisco, where his dad had steady work as a musician. But, things were tough in the Santana household. Carlos had to help his dad provide for the family. So he talked about his very first job being at the TikTok restaurant, served hamburgers, and it was a day that he'll never forget when the Grateful Dead pulled up in their limousines and their tour bus to order some food. And that's when Carlos had the epiphany, like, hey, man, I can do this. I can play music. I can make a living playing music, people paying to see my original music. And that was, not necessarily his big break, but that was like the shining light where he, it shined upon him that day that the Grateful Dead pulled up to the TikTok. And that was it. I can't help but get a little bit of emotional when Carlos was talking about providing for his family. And when he had, a bunch of money in a Safeway bag, and he told his mother to buy a refrigerator, go get a dishwasher. And then, of course, the big bag of money where, he brought to his mother and said, go buy a house. And the satisfaction that he got from that. And, and I think about that as well, with my parents and what the sacrifices they made for me. And I'm sure everybody can relate, you want to pay them back something at some point in time. And I don't know, I was like very emotional when I heard that from Carlos and the satisfaction that he got from being able to buy his mother and father a home. That very, very cool. Not a very good student. He said he studied girls in high school, and his mother wanted him to go to college. He was accepted to Cal State, but chose not to go to college after high school. So he's 19 years old in 1966. He forms the band, the Santana Blues Band, gets a record deal shortly thereafter from Columbia Records, shortens the name of the band to simply Santana. By the time he's 22 or 23 years old, recorded their debut album, Santana, and then back into the studio in 1970 for the band's second album, Abraxas, which contained a cover of Peter Green from Fleetwood Mac's Black Magic Woman, and also the Tito Puente song Oye Como Va. Both became big hits for Santana. And that would be the point where that big bag of money came to his mother for her to buy a house. And don't forget about Santana's second wave of success. One of the greatest selling albums of all time. And I'm talking about his album Supernatural, which was released back in 1999. Collaborations from Rob Thomas from Matchbox 20, Eric Clapton, Dave Matthews, CeeLo Green, and more. Had that song Smooth with Rob Thomas. Huge hit. #1 in 11 countries. According to the Guinness Book of World Records in 2005, it was the band's first album to peak at number 1 on the Billboard 200 since their album Santana 3 in 1971, making it the longest gap between 2 number 1 albums, which was 28 years in total. At the 2000 Grammy Awards, the album Supernatural won 9 Grammys, breaking the record held by Michael Jackson's Thriller for the most honored album. Wow, the legendary Carlos Santana. A very cool guy. I was so glad to have the opportunity to get a chance to talk to him today. And a ton of great celebrities over the course of almost 2 years now. The Celebrity Jobber podcast, celebrityjobber.com. You can go back and find all of the interviews that we've had with celebrities telling us what their first job was and, what their big break was, their path to success. You can also check out the Celebrity Jobber page on YouTube, which is youtube.com/@Celebrity Jobber. And again, on Instagram, Celebrity Jobber Podcast. And available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you stream your podcasts. Please subscribe, give us a 5-star rating. We'd love that. And leave a review if you like the Celebrity Jobber Podcast, which I hope you do. I like it, but, kind of biased. So we'll see you again next week. Another episode, and I can't wait to share it with you. Bachman Turner Overdrive's Randy Bachman will be next week's guest right here on Celebrity Jobber. We'll see you then. Thanks for listening. I'm Jeff Zito.